So in this video, what I want to do is let you know why we moved to Australia, how it has changed my life, my struggles, my experiences, the lessons I've learned. I'll be spilling all the juice in this video, guys, so if you're interested, please keep watching. Welcome to my channel. My name is Abisola Olu-Ojo, and I film about faith, family and lifestyle as a Nigerian mom living in Australia. If you're new here, welcome to the channel, guys. Thank you for coming in. Please make sure to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And if you're returning, hi guys, good to have you all here again. Thank you so much for staying tuned to this growing family, guys. So I'll go straight to the point, okay? So first thing is why we moved to Australia. So when I was courting my husband, when we were dating and then courting, we both always knew that at some point we would want to live in a different country aside Nigeria, where we were born and bred and had lived all our lives. So I knew that I wanted to see the world. My husband also loves traveling, and we both just knew that at some point we would live in a different country. So that was a no-brainer. We already knew early on in our relationship. So when we got married, we were fortunate enough to travel to another country to have our first child. And then even by then, my husband was already processing and trying other countries. Right now, I'm glad that those other countries didn't work out, to be honest. I'm glad that we ended up in Australia for so many reasons. But anyway, we always knew. And as to why we chose Australia in particular, let me be honest and put it out there that my husband was the one doing the research. At the time, I was very indifferent, and I was indifferent because I had a growing business. My business was thriving and gaining momentum. So we were doing quite well in Nigeria. We're both very comfortable. So I was beginning to change my mind about living in a different country. So what I wanted was to be able to travel around on vacations, see different parts of the world, but still come back home to Nigeria, just because I really loved what I was doing at the time. I was really, I had plans for my business and it was growing quite well. So there was a time where I left my husband to do all the planning and all. And then even though I knew, okay, it was Australia, I wasn't so involved in the processing and the planning. He would just be giving me updates and telling me what I needed to do. So I'll just do it and be like, anyhow, Jare. Like I wasn't too involved, to be honest. But I was aware of the process and what he was doing, but I was very indifferent, to be honest. And then came that day and he just said, wow, and he just woke me up from bed. Wow, yeah, we got the visa. I'm like, oh, okay, we got the visa, you know. So I was excited for a bit there. I was happy that, yeah, we applied and then everything followed through. We got the permanent residency visa. I was very happy, but then it was a mix of emotions for me. So I was starting to think, what does that mean? I have to close my business down, leave everything I have here. You know, it was a struggle, and I felt really ill at some point, and then I had to do a surgery, and then we're concerned about missing the dates that the Australian government had given us to first arrive into the country. So a lot was going on at the time, but I started to come around to accepting our new beginning. And anyway, we came here, you know, we came here 4 years ago, and I am very grateful for the experience so far. But I want to be honest and say that in the beginning, I was very indifferent, and my husband did most of the processing and research. He would just tell me, you need to do this, and I'll just do it and say, okay, I've done it, and you know, yeah, but we ended up here. So the reason why he chose Australia was majorly, well, first of all, I believe you want an English-speaking country, right? You don't want to go somewhere where you can't understand their mode of communication. So speaking English, an English-speaking country was like a #1 priority for us, as well as the climate, the weather conditions. That was huge for us because I don't do very well with cold. I'm very prone to flu. I don't respond well to cold environments. So Australia is quite friendly with weather conditions. Some states are colder than the others, but we ended up in Perth, and particularly because it's warmer than other states. Melbourne is really cold. Even right now, we're just getting over winter. So our winter is not as severe as other countries like Canada or the UK. So it's quite friendly. You don't have to wear as many layers of clothing in winter as you would in some other states or some other countries. So the weather and the language was a huge one for us, as well as a mix of other things, you know. Based on my husband's research, like I said, he does the research for the family, and I just trust God's wisdom on his life, and he leads and I follow. And when he tells me we're going this way, I just pray and we try to agree in faith as to what God is doing in our lives at every point in time. So anyway, 4 years ago we came here as permanent residents. I still remember vividly the first day we landed Australia. It was super cold. It was very cold, and I was like, what is going on here? You know, I was really cold. And in my last video, guys, I talked about how when you first arrive, you may have to stay in a shared accommodation, which is what we did for about 3 weeks. So you can check that video out, guys. I mentioned a few interesting facts you should know if you haven't seen that. So anyway, when we arrived, my husband already sorted out accommodation from Nigeria. So he found his contact on Facebook. She was letting out her place as shared accommodation. So we arrived at that place. And then I remember being so tired and exhausted from the trip. My legs were swollen. I was pregnant at the time, by the way. My legs were swollen. I was flat out exhausted. My baby also. I had a toddler at the time. And I recall how that when we got to our accommodation, we barely slept for 3 hours. I don't want to bore you with too much, but I just want to gist you guys. But yeah, as soon as we got there, the next morning we were up again, processing our documents and all of that good stuff. It was very exhausting in the beginning. So every day got easier, to be honest. We were sharing accommodation for a few weeks. Then we applied for our own place. We got our first rental accommodation, and then things started getting easier every day. Now it's been 4 years, and I want to speak about how living in this country has changed my life. So the first one I want to speak about is being lonely and being very homesick. So guys, I feel like as adults, you don't make friends as quickly as you would, as you used to. So making friends was a big deal for me. So I feel like in the beginning, I was quite lonely. I was very homesick. It was just me, my toddler, and my partner at the time. So we weren't going out much because I was tired and pregnant, but I felt really lonely. And I just chose to use that time as a time of rediscovery, because I felt like if I'm living here now, it has to be for a purpose. I have to enjoy living in this country. So even though I was spending so much time alone, I used it to reflect and plan and, you know, strategize as to how the land was going to be fruitful for me. So I was very lonely for a while, and I was very homesick. So that was a major change in my life. It felt like I had made a very huge sacrifice by leaving Nigeria. My friends, my family, and my business that I loved so much, I had to leave all that behind to relocate to the country. So the number one way living in this country changed my life was the fact that in the beginning, I was very homesick and I was very lonely. And I had all these hormones raging from being pregnant, guys. So yes, there was loneliness in the beginning. So the other way living here changed my life. I feel like for a while, guys, I experienced some distortion, identity distortion, you can call it, you know. I found that I wasn't being myself, especially when I got my first job with the bank. I felt like fish out of water. I don't know if anybody can relate, but I felt like fish out of water. And majorly because in my team at the time, I was the only black person. In fact, the entire floor, you would probably just see one other black person, but in my team, in my role, I was the only black person for a long time. And in the entire building, you probably just see 2 or 3 other black people. So it was very hard adjusting to that. I felt very exposed in a weird way. And I found that I was now unknowingly dimming my own lights. I was uncomfortable. And it was also because I feel like when I just got here and I was speaking to people who were not Nigerians or Africans or Australians, Caucasians, there were always times where I had to repeat myself. I would say something and they wouldn't hear me, and they would be like, excuse me, please repeat yourself. I'm like, is this English we're all speaking? What's going on here? And I've always felt like Nigerians speak very clear, very audible English, right? So why couldn't they hear me? So it used to annoy me. It was a struggle that, please, if you listen actively, you will hear what I'm saying. So I used to get a lot of, please, what did you say? Sorry, repeat yourself. And it used to get on my nerves a whole lot. But that has changed now. And I don't even know why it has changed, because I still speak the same way, you know. So, but yeah, that has changed. But in the beginning, it really affected me. And that's why I was saying that I felt like fish out of water when I got my first job with the bank. So bad that sometimes that if I had suggestions during meetings or contributions, I wouldn't say anything during my team meetings, just because I did not want to be misunderstood. I did not want to repeat myself, you know. So I was hiding in a really big shell, even though I knew that I had so much to offer. So most times, as opposed to speaking during any team meeting, I would just send an email to my manager with my contributions. So one of those times, my manager called me and said, I feel like you have a lot to offer, so why don't you really speak during meetings? And I was like, oh well, I just didn't like having to repeat myself, and that wasn't good, you know. So I had that moment where I was not myself, you know. I wasn't myself, and I didn't like that at all. But guys, to be honest, it has changed so much now. I'm way more comfortable in my environment. I have really blended into the system, and I'm quite comfortable now. But in the beginning, I will not even lie, it was very hard for me to adjust, especially in my job. You know, I just didn't like and there are times where they'll be cracking jokes I could not relate with. They'll be laughing and, you know, having a good time. I'm like, okay, I don't see what's funny here, you know. So there was that, obviously there was that huge difference between my kind of jokes and their kind of jokes. So that was a huge one for me as well. Just feeling like fish out of water was a huge one for me. So another way that living in Australia changed my life is I became a superwoman. I literally developed muscles, you know, because here you have to do 99.5% of everything you have to do by yourself. I was used to having help in Nigeria. I was used to having help. Yeah, my business, I had students I was training who used to help me in several ways. I had a house help at the time, a staying help, because I had a really young child. So I had extra help. I had my mom-in-law, I had my family, I had my friends. So there was that support system. Even though I have a strong support system here in Australia now, when I just came, I had not made any friends. I had not met so many people. So it was a major change having to do everything myself. Guys, I had a toddler who was 2 years old, and I was pregnant, heavily pregnant. So I had to do everything myself, and that was difficult. I thank God for my partner, my husband. Partner is Australian English. My husband was very helpful at the time. So yeah, it was hard adjusting to having to do everything, even to my hair and all, my everything, guys. I had to do everything myself. So that was also a huge adjustment for me, you know. So yeah, and then other things, you know, that you were not just used to doing in Nigeria that you had to do here was a major change for me. Yes, I think that's most of the areas where my life changed drastically. And I feel like for a while I also became more introverted because I didn't know as many people. But back in Nigeria, yeah guys, my husband joined this WhatsApp group where there were other people trying to relocate to Australia. There was this particular family that moved in a few months just before we arrived. So they got here before us, and when we came in, my husband contacted them again saying that okay, we had arrived, this is our location. So he came to meet us. Fantastic family, and they were the ones that really helped us, you know, settle down in Australia. He would come literally every other day, take us on a ride to the malls. He showed us where to shop, where to buy things, the African stores. You know, he was just very supportive. And on Sundays, he would drive to our place, take us to church, and that church is still my church till now. They are an amazing family. that have now become my family, you know. So even though it took time to adjust and settle down and find that support system that we needed, we found it eventually, guys. So everything definitely got easier by the day. So if you are considering relocating, I'm sure that you have all these things at the back of your mind, that how would you settle down, where would you go, all of those things. But trust me, that's why it's also very important to do some level of research, so you know how to meet other like-minded people, or people who are also Nigerians or Africans like you, and they'll help you settle down into the country easily. I look back now and it's been an interesting ride, because here we are, Australians already settled into the country, and everything is going on fantastically well, and I'm more than grateful for the journey so far. Now, lessons learned. I want to pick out a few things I learned. Number one for me is, it's so important to involve God in your matter, make sure that God is involved in every single thing you're doing. So from the time we left Nigeria, we were always just praying to God to please direct our steps, order our steps, and all of that. You know, just commit all of your ways into God's hands. Like, do not think that you can, by your own wisdom or knowledge or know-how, do things by yourself. It's so important to make sure that God is involved in every single thing. That has been the biggest thing for me, like involving God, and I can literally see his hand manifest in everything that I do. So guys, make sure God is involved. If you are considering relocating, you know, just commit your ways into God's hands. The next thing I've learned is, relocating does not necessarily mean you're going to paradise. If you had issues in your country, your home country, it doesn't mean you relocate to any country for that matter and there wouldn't be any issues. You know, there's still a few things. Bills, for example, is a major one here. You pay bills for everything, for having a driver's license, for moving, for drinking, insurance. There's a lot of bills, things you can escape from not paying in Nigeria. You can't escape from doing that here. There's bills to pay, there's taxes to pay. So just bear that in mind. That's a lesson I've learned, that there's no perfect country. Okay, you say there are bad people in your home country, there are bad people here too. I've met really fantastic people, really friendly Australians. I've also met very nasty people who are complete racists, you know, who discriminate publicly, not hiding it at all. I've also met people who are very friendly and just fantastic. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. There's good and bad people everywhere. Another lesson I've learned is there's dignity in labor. Guys, on a totally different video, I'm going to share my experiences as far as labor is concerned, how I had to work my way up to the top. I won't say starting from the bottom, but I had to do some things I never ever thought I would do, but I had to do them at the time just to, you know, support my family and just trust the process and grow from there. So there were things that I did, but I know that there's dignity in labor, guys. In this country, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Either you're a plumber or a gatekeeper or a receptionist, or you work in a retail store, there's dignity in labor here. Everybody respects everybody's profession and whatever it is you are doing to make ends meet, unlike in Nigeria. And it's so terrible how that we demean people who have, you know, lesser kind of jobs than we have. We look down on people. Here, there's nothing like that. We don't look down on anybody. If you work in the healthcare sector, if you work in retail, if you work in the mines, it doesn't matter what you do, there's dignity in labor here. And that's something I value so much, you know, that you do what you need to do to make ends meet and nobody's looking down on you for any reason. Okay, so those are important things that I've learned so far. Something I've also learned is that no man is an island, right? I have a very strong support system here in Australia. I've built very solid friendships and people are just amazing. So there are good people out there, guys. That's something that Australia has blessed me with so much, you know. So yeah, that's what I really wanted to share as far as lessons learned are concerned. I will do a part 2 of this video where I talk about my career and some mistakes I made. I could have made smarter decisions as far as my career is concerned. But yeah, I think that's all I want to share in this video, guys. I hope you found it slightly insightful. I hope you've enjoyed listening and watching, guys. So on my next video, I will give some more details into some things I really want to share. I hope you've enjoyed watching this to the very end. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video. I post videos every week. I try to do every week, guys. So I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.